Hey guys, welcome to the session on Coffee with Prab. And today we have Mr. Akash with us. He is my fellow friend, and we used to have a lot of discussions from last 5 6 years. And glad he took his time. He take out the time from his busy schedule and coming to this YouTube channel and sharing his wisdom and thoughts on the third party risk monitoring. Thank you, bhai. Thank you for taking out the time for
Thank
our for people like us.
nothing
Okay.
like that, Prab. And thanks to you for allowing me this opportunity. So first of all, it was a great introduction, something which I would jot it down and utilize it for my future references. That's first thing. Secondly, yep, I'm really thankful for allowing me time and let's say allowing me with this opportunity because I believe that people like me and third party risk management is treated like a step kind of a step process and it's not treated that much what do you say with maturity and not taking that much seriously with regards to other things like someone doing red teaming and other things like VAPD.
Hmm.
And we are kind of treated like GRC is kind of treated like a step.
But GRC is just a process, right?
No. I've heard a better term that it's only a documentation.
It's a documentation. Okay. So it is better than that, you think?
Yeah, I
And
believe
that is
so.
why we
It's
are here.
yeah, that's it. why we are here providing more intro into the same, providing deep understanding with regards to how it's not merely a documentation or more really a kind of a to-do list kind of a thing, which anyone believes can a 12th standard guy who understands English and knows a bit of security can do. I believe it's much more than that, and it needs more rigorous, in-depth analysis with regards to when it comes to third party and other things with regards to GRC. So it's not only the documentation thing, but it's also about how you understand what more you can bring into the table.
Hmm.
So I believe that few people take it into the such way, but it's more about how you take it that process into understanding, how you can enhance it more, and what better you can do in the same. So it's bringing your own self and your capabilities into that particular process. So first of all, yep, thanks for allowing me this opportunity again.
Thank you. So, Akash, today what is special?
Sure. So we have all heard about third party, what third parties are. They are the third party vendors providing services for organizations. Just like say, I want to host a website. Let's
Hmm.
payment processing website or something for my customer. I'll go you and the customer says that we want it on a cloud for
Hmm.
which you go and start utilizing AWS. You
Hmm.
sign up your own AWS instance for your organization, host that website and provide it to your customer as the end product, which is the application.
Hmm.
So that AWS which you are utilizing for hosting that application or any other cloud provider, not specifically AWS, it can be Azure, Google, GCP, something as per the client requirements and the regions and the regulations. So that AWS and the other associated third party or the cloud hosting becomes a third party for you. That is supply chain which comes into the picture and it's becoming more important because more of the people or the attackers have started attacking those and utilizing them as the third attacker to let's say get access to the customers data to the organizations and yep
That's
launching
great.
ransomware attacks. Yep, so that's where the third party risk management comes in.
That's great. So, I will give you the host rights. So you can
Sure.
basically share that screen and that basically, give the more visibility to people why we are here for
Sure.
this session.
Sure,
Go to
bro.
host.
Sounds
Yeah.
good. Yep. Let me see. Yep, got it. Sure. So, yep. So, as we were discussing, that managing the third-party supplier risk. So, that is third parties or the vendors or the subcontractors, as there are multiple annotations and name associated, but they're all synonyms to each other. So, yep. With regards to continuous monitoring tools, so in the industry, we are currently organizations are moving towards, let's say, previously what was used to happen that we used to do on point in time assessments using questionnaires and other things with regards to the third party assessments. So now most of the organizations have started utilizing continuous monitoring tools. Different tools like Pandroid, BitSight, RiskRecon, and UpGuard are there. What their tool do is that they do scanning on the third party vendors, their environment, the public facing environment, and report the vulnerabilities, weaknesses across various domains. And apart from that, what they provide is what kind of vulnerabilities, what their CVSS score, under which domain is there, and they map it to the industry. What is it? Let's say if there's AWS, for instance, if we are looking at the AWS record in one of those tools, what they would provide is what's the industry benchmark, how their peers are performing, what's the industry benchmark with regards to their security score, and what's the AWS benchmark according that. and how it has changed over the time, let's say for last quarter, 1 month, and all those things, and how they are performing in each of the domains, let's say human resource, network security, and other things. And apart from that, they will list down all the third-party certifications they have attained, let's say ISO, SOC 2, and others. And then it will also provide a brief overview with regards to all the third parties they are utilizing, their third parties. Let's say Amazon utilizing different third parties at their backend to provide cloud services. So that's overview. So today we are going to cover the features of the third party or the continuous monitoring tool, what benefits they provide, how are they being utilized, and few real case scenarios, how I have encountered that they have helped in maturing our third party risk management for the organizations which I have worked upon.
That is basically great. So before we basically discuss about this CI, managing third-party risk functions and all that, can we just go by the basics to understand what is the thin line difference between risk assessment on third party um, um, uh, um, or the second part is basically called as this risk monitoring? How it is different from that?
Sorry, so risk
My
assessment on
question is
third parties.
my question is basically like on one side, I'm sure you have seen a lot of things are happening around, we say, third party risk assessment, and how that third party risk assessment is different from this third party risk continuous monitoring.
Okay, okay, got your question. And that's a really good question with regards to how the difference can. Okay, so each organization has around, let's say, a small or a large enterprise has around thousands of suppliers which they
Hmm.
assess over the year. And once they, so there are two kinds of assessments for any third party. One is continuous, sorry, one is during the onboarding, once they are being onboarded as a new vendor. That can be a new service from the same supplier, and that's one thing. Secondly is the ongoing assessments on any third party which they have already onboarded. They did that due diligence initially once they were being onboarded, and now they decided a frequency for the reassessments on those suppliers. So those assessments are time based. Let's say you assess one of the suppliers today, and probably maximum you can go back to that particular supplier for their audit reports or for the security controls is a year from now minimum, considering that there are thousands of vendors and you have a limited uh, audit capability with regards to the human resources needed, the challenges, and also the audit fatigue, which the vendor or the third party would be able to respond to. Considering that if there's AWS as an organization, as a third party, is receiving thousands of, let's say, questionnaires or audits through their clients, they have also got a limited capacity with regards to the response they can provide. So that's risk assessment. So where organizations share questionnaires, understand what are the controls implemented, get the details of the same, and then find out the risk of which they perceive according to their risk appetite as well as the industry and the compliance requirements they need to follow up on. That's one thing. With regards to continuous monitoring tool, they help in doing the real-time monitoring. So there might be things which vendor might not provide us with, or there might be the things that, considering it's a human effort which the other side would be providing those responses, they might miss some details, they might hide them, they might provide some responses with ambiguity, or they might not, let's say, provide us more details with regards to the same. That's one thing. Secondly, it will help us in doing the continuous assessment. We can't really do manual assessment continuously on any of our third parties. And as we know that the vulnerabilities grows, there might be third or 0 day vulnerabilities which might be exploited or which might come into the picture, for which we might not be able to run an assessment on each of vendor, or through we might be affected through their supply chain, considering that AWS utilizing multiple third parties for providing our services, let's say having Salesforce at the back end, having other, let's say, WEF provider or something, or Cloudflare as Cloudflare as one of the WEF providers, and they might get hit. So it might impact us, but we might not be able to get the view through only the questionnaire responses. Or it might not be that the reassessment would be would might not be due, but we can utilize the tool to get the findings or get the findings. Also, it would help us require at what you do. It will help us to provide our customers assurance that we are doing continuous monitoring assessments on our third party suppliers. If there are specific vendors which we are utilizing for providing services to our customer, we can provide them the point in time reports, or let's say the continuous assessment reports which we are running, and how mature the organizations are, or how that mature that particular vendor is with regards to their public infrastructure and the public and the security controls.
Okay. So this cannot be addressed by the basic governance requirement and all that. So you mean to say that we really need a tools in place which can basically do the proactive monitoring and that give the visibility, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So that's one part. Secondly, the continuous monitoring. There's one added advantage is that an auditor can only audit in a point in
Mm,
time, and there might be certain audit sampling which can be done with regards to any auditor.
mm.
Considering, let's say, even if it's a SOC 2 Type 2 assessment or SOC 2 Type 2 auditor, they will ask for a sample, only a sample, and let's say configuration might change within a 6 months period of time, within a month, or within a 10, 15 days. So continuous monitoring can detect that, but that can't be detected or reported by an external auditor because
Okay.
it's a point in time. Yep.
And okay, so let's continue with the things and we can have more visibility on that. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Sounds good. Okay. Moving on to the next slide, which is first is the introduction. So as I told you that with regards to continuous monitoring tool, they provide the visibility from security and compliance standpoint, how the third party vendors are performing. What are the different changes in case they make any configuration changes? Have they risen out any vulnerabilities? Has there anything being misconfigured by them? And secondly, we can also do the compliance check on them. So we can go subscribe different compliance pack as per the requirement for that particular vendor and check if they are complying to those particular compliance requirements like GDPR, PCI DSS, HIPAA, depending upon the industry we operate and the services which we are taking them. That's one thing. And secondly, with regards to compliance, in case we are running a POC and choosing out of 3 different vendors, which one is more mature from security standpoint? There have been use cases where vendor or let's say business comes to us that uh, considering that you are from third party risk management team, these are the 4 part vendors which we are looking out for this particular service. Can you please go and run a check and provide us with the details, which is more cyber security mature, considering that we might not get hit by any of our surprises once we run and finalize the vendor, and then you come back to us that, oh, hey, it's not that much secure, or these are the vulnerabilities for which you need to get risk acceptances from BO heads or get them logged into the ERM tool and all. So yep, that's where these tools and continuous monitoring tools comes handy.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, next is with regards to the importance of third party risk management. So tools. So they help in identifying and making us aware with the potential risk. What are different potential risk vulnerabilities which are open, which can, let's say, lead to some compliance issue, or let's say something with regards to ransomware or any attack being launched and hitting our clients' data or our data, which they are storing, processing, accessing as part of the services. With regards to the challenges, there are few challenges with regards to the continuous monitoring tool, considering that it's a development area. And the first is the vendor resistance. So there might be some vendor resistance with regards to the vulnerabilities. They
Mm,
might not be comfortable in addressing all those vulnerabilities, or they might not be, or they might come back and say that, hey, this doesn't relate to the product which we are providing you or the services. That's one. Second is it's a different. It might be a challenge that it might not get integrated with the existing GRC organization tools, because considering that most of the organizations are utilizing tools like Archer and other, which might not integrate or support the continuous monitoring tool API integration and other things. And second is alert fatigue, considering that organizations have around thousands of vendors and they need to prioritize. So that might lead to alert fatigue from, considering if there are 10 alerts being generated from each vendor around a week and 1,000 vendors, that is which one to prioritize. And organizations need to develop a metrics and get mature towards the adoption.
that's great. And how do you see the challenges when it comes to the tools part and all that? When you like, as I said, we have a tools like vendor specific and all that. So how do you see the challenge and all that? How you manage that particular things? Yeah.
Sure. So one of the challenge or major challenge which I have faced is number of false positives. So
Mm,
getting that fine tuned, getting that vendor, or let's say mapping those vulnerabilities accounts the real risk is one of the challenges, because each tool might provide a different overview, or they might provide the vulnerabilities which might turn out to be a false positive, or it might be a product dependency which might not be a real-time vulnerability. Let's say one of the things which I've seen is that for AWS it shows thousands or let's say hundreds of vulnerabilities as rated as critical. But
Mm.
when I go and see the source of that, that might be a, let's say, static page listed or let's say hosted by any of their customers in other region, and that it's showing tagged under AWS, but that asset or that particular vulnerability doesn't really relate to AWS itself.
Okay, that's great. And
Uh,
if you take an example of implementations perspective and everything, so how do you see that, complexity part of that particular solution?
Sure. So, okay. So with regards to the adoption and let's say implementation of any of the continuous monitoring tool, so I've been part of implementation of one or two tools in my previous organization. So
Hmm.
where one of the biggest challenge is getting it, let's say, defining the metrics, getting it aligned with your enterprise risk management, and let's say how you rate the vendors with regards to the inherent risk. So that same practice should be followed with regards to the continuous monitoring tool to get it aligned with your ERM, those vulnerabilities, and how frequently you need to, or let's say defining which vulnerabilities you need to go after. Because you can't go after about, let's say, if there are 100 vulnerabilities listed for a particular vendor, you can't follow up for those 100. So prioritizing them depending upon the inherent risk, and also then classifying that these, let's say, up to CVS score 8, we are going to follow, or if the vulnerability is listed as high and critical, then only we are going to follow up with the vendor and not for other, let's say, medium lows or information or something. So yeah, those are the things. And secondly, thing is considering that there's no integration with the GRC tool, existing GRC tools which the enterprise might be using. So manually going in, filling the vendor data with regards to the what data we are sharing, putting in those parameters is also second uh, most critical thing. So integration is also one of the major challenges with regards to the tool and its implementation. So organization needs to find a way how they are going to put in or how the tool can support with regards to the continuous monitoring. So catching all the ERM matrices for rating the particular vendor inherent risk rating and all.
Okay, because as I can see the requirement of functions and all that, what I see that governance part and all that, that also we have to look for, because as we're talking
Yeah,
about, we will discuss from the perspective we can when we move to the next slide where we get a more visibility about things. Yeah.
sure. Sounds good. Okay. Next slide, real-time monitoring. So as you know, one of the key feature is that it's continuously monitor the third-party vendors publicly facing environment as the
Mm.
tool functionality goes. So what they do, they report and analyze the activities and provide insights into any of the risk or the compliance issues which they find out by doing a scan on the publicly open environment. So
Mm.
one of the use case or one of the key example I remember is that one of the vendors which my organization was utilizing, one of my organizations. So that particular vendor had was providing us with the file sharing, what is it,
Mm.
platform.
Okay.
So it was a file sharing platform which they were providing, and that our customers report, one of our customer whom we were utilizing that service for, provide reach out to us with an issue that okay, this particular tool we are also able to look into the other customers' files and their data, and that was
Okay.
one of the because their security team or the, let's say, user team was able to look into the other people's or let's say other customer sensitive data which was being stored for our database instance. So we found went back into the tool, look into the different kind of vulnerabilities. We went back to the vendor, understand what the gap is, and we also utilize this real monitoring, the tool which we're using for real-time monitoring. So it provided us that there's a particular vulnerability which anyone can go and run an arbitrary code, and it was missing input validation. And based on the same, we went back to the vendor, challenged them. They
Mm.
said they acknowledged, they took back, and they went back to the security team. They applied the patch, took down the site for let's say 4 to 5 days, and went back
Mhm.
up and online. So it was resolved. It provided us a great insight because in case it would have lead to any of the, let's say, client codes or something being shared across different clients, it would have lead to a major issue for my organization and might lead to the vendor or our clients being disengaged and dissatisfied.
And how do you discover that?
Sure. So first point of interaction was that our client discovered that, and then they reported us back that, hey, this is the vulnerability which we were able to see,
Uh,
and this is something you need to go back to your vendor. They were utilizing one of the tools, a continuous monitoring tool, so they provided the reference. We went back to the tool which we were utilizing. We were using two different tools. They were utilizing the other one. So
hmm,
we went back. We check into the tool which we were utilizing.
hmm,
We saw that it's been flagged,
uh,
and so we went back with all the details, the snippet of that particular finding from we downloaded the report. It provides the functionality that you can download the report. Also, you can follow up through the particular vulnerability through the chat with
hmm,
the supplier point security point of contact. So we provided them the vulnerability. We reached out to the customer success team through the same and asked them for the feedback, and also with the resolution time and other things, what are the SLAs they would be able to fix it, because it's a client thing. And considering that if other clients start reporting, it would lead to a major client dissatisfaction. And also, it would lead to our functions bad word of mouth that, okay, if you got the tool, you got the capabilities, you are not able to do the real time monitoring, or what's the use if you are not able to find these kind of vulnerabilities. So yep, that's where this tool became handy. We were able to resolve it within the time. The web supplier took down their website for 3 to 4 days, and they were up
wow.
and running.
So Akash, my question is basically, when it comes to the real-time monitoring and all that. So when we basically buy any solutions and all that, how do you see that? Okay, what is the most important parameter we consider when we buy this real-time monitoring solutions?
Sure. So first is it's provide you, let's say, with the real-time monitoring tools, provide you with the governance side, or let's say you can do the real-time monitoring of the vulnerabilities. Let's say there was MOVEit vulnerability, or let's say Log4j was that.
Hmm,
So you can go back to your third parties that have they been hit, what they have done, and all the things with regards to details, how they have been hit. But you can't reach out to their third parties, considering that
okay,
it's a supply chain risk, which might
okay,
not be feasible for you to reach out. Let's say you have got 500 third parties or critical vendors. You can reach out to them, considering that you have got the bandwidth and other things and other process in place. But those 500 might be engaging with other 5,000 of their vendors
hmm,
for providing your services. You can't identify each of them. You can't, let's say, manually reach out to them and capture their responses. So
true,
that's where it becomes more and more complex as the supply chain risk goes on, because each vulnerability might not impact you directly, but they might hit you through their fourth parties or fifth parties or something. So
okay.
that's where these tools comes in handy. You can go, you can check what third parties they're utilizing. You can capture them. It provides you an insight into their third parties as well. Also, let's say if there's a critical vulnerability, you will take certain time to reaching out
Hmm,
to your third parties vendors. But using these tools, you can go and check. That might not be 100% kind of a scenario where you might be able to look at them, but it can provide you around 70-80% kind of inputs that have they been hit through this particular vulnerability, if we, and all those things.
that's a great. So my point is basically, we'll move to the next slide, then all we get a
No, no,
better
no, that's
visibility.
fine.
So real-time monitoring definitely is there, and you have seen a lot of threats are also coming with these monitoring solutions. And I believe that okay, proper policies, governance is also important, and
Yeah,
pen testing definitely is part of a story. Yeah, let's move to the next part. Yeah.
sure. Next is compliance and regulation. So as you know, different things with AI and other things coming into the picture,
Hmm,
compliance is getting more and more rigorous, and other things, and especially considering that I have been in majorly into BFSI industry,
hmm,
where banking, financing, and investments and other things based organizations, where finance compliance and regulations plays an important part, because considering that it's the money of our clients and investments which we are dealing, and we our organizations are dealing with. So they help us monitor whether how they are performing with regards to the different compliance like GDPR, PCI DSS, and other. They also require that you can go and check if they are not compliant, what are the different things they are not compliant to. You can go back, challenge
hmm,
them back. It provides a major, also it helps you to go back to your vendor with a substantial evidence. Okay, if you go back using your questionnaire kind of a thing, that have you been impacted and other things, you don't have any artifacts to challenge them. And they might say need to depend upon their word of, let's say, given their manual attestation or manual confirmation on emails or on the different questionnaires itself. But when you've got a tool, you can go back, challenge them. Hey, this is something which is tagged under your name, under your organization. This is the vulnerability which has been reported. Can you please go back and get it, check it? Does this really impacts you? Does this
Hmm.
uh, really is out of compliance or is it out of policy? If no, you can go back and go into the tool and submit your resolution that, okay, this is something which is false positive and these are the details. You can provide it and they would take it off from your
Okay.
name.
So
So, yep.
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. No, sorry. Go ahead.
So when you're talking about the compliance, how difficult is the compliance reporting here?
It's not that much hard to be true. You can
Hmm.
go select a pack depending upon your requirement. You can also put in certain controls which might not be there in that particular pack, but your organization needs to commit to that. So you can subscribe to the different compliance pack and then check whether those particular vendors are adhering, how they're performing against those particular controls with regards to those particular compliances.
Okay, that's
Yep.
that's really great.
Yep.
So
So
remediation, mitigation is definitely part of that. That is really great. Yeah,
yeah.
can we
So
proceed? Yeah, yeah.
sure. So one of the scenarios which I see that one of the vendor, they were providing us financial transaction processing system with regards to the card, and they were having PCI DSS data with
Hmm.
regards to our customers.
Hmm.
So the thing is that the tool flagged that they were not regularly updating their patches with regards to the vulnerability, and they scored very low on their patch management, vulnerability management, particularly vulnerability management domain with regards to the continuous monitoring. So what we did, we went back. It was already onboarded legacy vendor since last, let's say, 8-10 years. We said that this has been which has we have been finding out and which has been reported last since 8-10 years. You don't take us seriously. We believe that it has also been reported by our tool which we are utilizing,
Hmm.
and considering that you need to be PCI DSS compliant with regards to the requirement 6 point section 6 of PCI DSS requires that you need to be PCI compliant with regards to you need to update and apply critical patches within, let's say, 1 month, as
Hmm.
if I remember it correctly, with
Hmm.
regards to PCI DSS. So we went back, challenged that you're processing the payment and handling cardholder CST data for our customers. So
Hmm.
you need to either get your uh, what is it, get your controls up and running and get your policies and governance in place with regards to the PCI DSS requirement. If not, we are happy or the business is happy to deboard you. So yep, it helped to get the vendors strong armed in that way as well. In case considering that there are few of the vendors or there are multiple of the vendors which are being
Hmm.
onboarded since last 8-10 years, and once we go back, challenge them with regards to the compliance things, because previously we didn't have any evidences. It was just basis on the manual, and they used to refute that, okay, that it might be a manual error which someone might have responded wrongly or someone might have. So that was kind of a case. So we went back strong arm using the data which we got from the tool. It helped us to get the details up and running, and so help the vendor to get matured into the same way, because it's a two-way thing. It's not only
Hmm.
for us, but it's also beneficial for the third parties to get their controls and get them more matured. So it's both way win-win kind of a situation, I believe.
Okay. Okay. So let's move to the next part where we're talking about the next thing is, yeah, continuous
Continuous
improvement. Yeah.
improvement.
Yeah.
So yep. Okay. So as I was telling you that with regards to the patch management, the case which we were just discussing with one of our vendor. So what these tools help you is that they help in creating automated feedback loops. So where vendors and customers can directly engage through the platform. So you don't need to go in manually for
Hmm.
any of the details. You can but go against that particular vulnerability, use the chat functionality of that particular tool, and then provide the say this is the vulnerability which the tool is showing against your name, has been tagged to your organization. It has
Hmm.
been marked as critical high, depending upon the vulnerability.
Hmm.
And then you can provide, it allows the vendor to also provide the feedback and get it closed if it's a false positive or something. So it creates a more transparency as well as a feedback kind of a thing where we both can engage on the same platform. Previously,
Okay.
we used to go through our customer success manager. If we used to tell them that get a X thing, they will get Y thing for us. And considering that they didn't understand security.
Hmm.
And then it created ambiguity kind of a thing. So that's one thing. Secondly, it also helps you to get more mature into the same. Let's say if a new cloud service provider comes into an industry, they don't have on, let's say, a new CRM application provider, or let's say file sharing platform provider comes into the industry. So these tools provide you industry benchmarking, let's say against Dropbox and other things. And if they, let's say Dropbox has their security around 95 kind of a thing out of 100, and the new comes in, they might be providing the same service at a lower cost. Business might want to go against the same, but also we would like to, let's say, get them benchmarked against the standard, or sorry, against the industry in which they're operating. So it would help them to continuously improve, see what they are, how they are performing, in which domains they are lagging, how can they improve around the same, and get them matured.
But
So
how benchmark is important? Okay, everyone has their own perspective of doing things, but how benchmark is basically important here?
sure. So benchmarks is important because the thing is that everyone wants to ensure that their third parties are secure.
Hmm.
Other than the business benefit, one also needs to look into the larger picture with regards to in case they get hit by any ransomware, or in case they start losing clients if the vendor is not secure. So the
Okay.
benchmarking helps them understand that, okay, let's say if I'm business plans. So one of the use case was that one of the business units want to as I was telling you, wanted to run a POC for chatbot providers, AI tools and other things. So they reached out to 4 different providers, and they said, okay, these are the four which we are shortlisted out of 10, and now we want to run a POC with them. So, okay, before running a POC, the requirement is that you need to sign an NDA and legal things and other things. So minimum security requirements goes into the legal requirements and NDAs and all. But they came back to us, okay, we are looking at these 4 vendors for providing us services. Can you please go back and look into a tool which is the more mature in comparison to other one? So we went to the tool, we said, okay, these are the 4 which we have provided. These are the how they are scoring against the industry benchmark, how they are maturing, which domains they are lagging, which has more critical vulnerabilities open against their particular, what you say, particular, sorry,
Requirement or gaps and all
yeah,
that. Yeah.
particular requirement or particular against their organization,
Hmm.
which has more critical vulnerabilities open and all those things. And also, which we used to send out questionnaires. So we used to take the input of both.
Hmm.
It's not a single kind of a thing that we only used to rely on the tool, but we also used to take in the score from the questionnaire responses which they have provided. So it's both. We used to take 40-50% of the scoring part and 40-50 of the questionnaire responses. So that's how we used to do the residual risk of any of the vendor, depending
Okay.
upon the responses and the tool. And that helped them to continuously improve against those benchmarks. That
Okay.
these are there have been cases. There was one of the large media houses in India, which our organization engaged back in 2020. They failed miserably. They had failed across all the domains in security controls. And the thing is, which led to that we need to procedurally fail them, or let's say they are immature to be
Hmm.
onboarded.
Hmm. That's great.
And the business, yeah. So the thing is, if someone is, let's say, out of 100 controls failing on 80 controls, there's no point of doing assessment, or let's say going dipping deep down. If they are saying at the basic that they don't have encryption, they don't have firewall, they don't have any logging, even no manual logging or something. So
Hmm.
let's say if they're failing on those, what we can do, or what we can suggest, okay, these are the minimum things you need to have. This is how you can improve. This tool is showing that you are, let's say, getting 20 out of 100 kind
Hmm.
of a thing. These are different domains which you need to improve upon to get your score up and running, to
Okay.
even, let's say, get to that kind of maturity to provide us services.
And that's very important because maturity part is basically something we have to validate. I agree with that. Okay. So
Sure.
that's why
Thanks.
CIS benchmark and other thing we can take. Yeah.
Yeah. CIS is there, then NIST is there, then yep,
That's
as
great.
the
Yeah.
benchmarking goes on. Sure.
Yeah. Next. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, incident management. So it helps in doing real-time detection of any incidents. It's data-driven kind of a thing because you got the data, you got the asset against which that particular incident has been identified, the root cause. It also gives you a link to the CVSS score, that vulnerabilities and all. And they provide enhanced visibility with regards to real-time monitoring, we already, as we discussed. And then it helps you develop the incident management playbook for your third party in case there's any incident, let's say 0-day vulnerabilities or something. So one of the scenarios is that one of the vendors, they were upgrading the system, they were moving from on-prem to cloud. And what they did is one of their junior resources wrongly configured their EC2 instances and make it publicly accessible. And
Okay.
it got flagged by our security team, who was, or by us, that okay, we have got this vulnerability recently being identified in the tool. It's just been 24 hours and it shows as a critical vulnerability. So can you please go back, check into your system? They went back, did the root cause identification, that okay, it's one of the junior resources who was part of the change management and upgradation. So junior security engineer who changed that particular EC2 configuration. Now they have rolled back to the rollback and made the changes into the particular security groups of that particular EC2. And then they have also restricted to the particular IP addresses. So yep, it helped stopping that particular incident becoming large, which might have impacted us and even our clients. And it becomes embarrassing even if our clients come back and saying that, oh, you particular vendor, we are able to see the other client's data or something, same kind of a thing. So yep, we wanted to avoid, and where this tools becomes handy is avoiding such situations. So proactive risk management, proactive incident management,
That's the most important
getting,
part.
yeah,
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, that's what I wanted to convey with regards to
Okay.
incident. So that's one thing. Second is, as I was talking about 0-day, so that might become an incident, large incident like Progress Move It became, or Log4j, or Capita 361, depending upon the applicability. That might lead to an incident which might have a large kind of a thing, or something kind of a DDoS attack, which an organization might face.
Okay.
So yep, those are the things we can, and this tool can be utilized for managing third-party risks.
That's great. But this is something is eye opener for me, to be frank, because the key part was the incident management. What you talk about, that was really great actually. And how do we how we can basically improve the overall process? So if I ask you about improving the overall incident management process and all that, how we can improve the incident management process in that case, if you
Sure.
want to
So,
improve that? Yeah.
sure. So, with regards to incident management, I don't think there's would be a single point or single thing or golden kind of a thing that only doing, or let's say by implementing this tool, it would lead to a huge impact. But okay, it would lead to a certain kind of maturity with regards to incident management.
Hmm.
So every time you one doesn't, or each organization might not be at certain or a particular level of maturity that they have got the capabilities going back to the third party vendors, if using the manual resources and other things, and even the time taken to get the responses back, analyze them, going again back with the details, identifying which are the critical ones. So I believe one of the point is developing an incident management playbook with regards to your third parties. That's one of the critical things, how
Hmm.
you want to analyze which are the ones. So first is getting all the data points correctly mapped. So having all the data points, like say, what's the data which we are sharing,
Hmm.
how are these particular vendors related to those particular clients.
Hmm.
There might be a scenario where a vendor might get hit and your clients start reaching out to you. Okay, this is the particular vendor we are aware that we utilize, or you are utilizing for providing our services, and now they got recently hit by a particular vulnerability, it's in the media. Can you
No.
please help us with the details? So that's one thing, you need to get all the data points and correctly mapped. That's one. Secondly, have a playbook, understand, focus upon the key ones which are critical, high rated kind of a thing from an analytic standpoint, because those are the major ones. Second, thirdly, understand vendor concentration risk. So which vendors we are having multiple engagements and large scope engagements with.
Hmm.
That's third. Fourth is, with regards to incident management, also have an exit plan kind of a strategy with in place. How to utilize them, how to, let's say, if you become, there is one term with regards to, sorry, that is with regards to cloud, there's one
Cloud.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
CASB and all
sorry,
that. Yeah.
no, not Casby. Sorry, there's one thing. Uh, cloud lock-in. So you got vendor lock-in kind of scenario where you get logged into a particular vendor. There's only one vendor providing the similar. It's kind of a niche kind of service, which you might not be able to migrate to service to another cloud provider or something. So be aware about those kind of scenarios. Take a risk. And also, I believe different teams, including business, legal, have a part to play with regards to
Okay.
the vendor. It's not only a single team or single person, it's a team game kind of a thing where all the different teams have a part to play. Because I think apart from utilizing these tools and other things, there's the securities or minimum security requirements should go into the vendor contracts with regards to these are the things. These are the bare minimum each vendor needs to have these security controls. Who would be storing, processing, or accessing or viewing our data?
And validating
Because
the
yep,
information. Yeah,
yeah,
that's great. But seriously, Akash, thanks for this great insight that you have basically shared. Because so far, we used to have a sessions on third-party risk management and all that, but this is something I find completely different from the perspective. And trust me, I really love that particular way you have conveyed the with a case study actually. So, and will you be
sure.
open to discuss more ideas in the future to come on this
Sure,
podcast?
Prab. Sure, Prab. So I'm happy. I'm happy to learn as well with you. So either way, I'm happy to contribute if I am. And yep, that's fine. Feel
That's
free to
great.
reach out to me.
That's great. Thanks for taking out the time, and do let us know in comment box team who those who are watching video. How do you find the sessions? And if you're new to the channel, do subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to make sure you should not miss the future videos on a similar topic. Thank you.
Sure.
Good day.
And
Bye.
kudos to Prab.
No, yeah, kudos to you because this is another important thing I like, to be frank.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thanks, Prab.
much.
Thanks, Prab.
Bye.